Part 9. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi Y. Chapter 81. Oh, Bai Qian-chun responded while putting the pills into the porcelain bottle. She knew this was the case, so in order to repay him for revealing the current pharmaceutical situation in the Interstellar, she took the initiative and sincerely invited him. We caught a few smugglers today who according to the rules can be directly punished with death. I am going to feed them poison. Grandpa Mizu, do you want to take this opportunity to let them try the medicine? The fat old man's eyes suddenly lit up, he rubbed his hands and asked excitedly, is it possible? How many fire-type superpowers are there? I have only successfully configured a bottle of yang supporting potion, but one bottle of data is not enough, at least there must be one only when 10 to 20 experimental specimens are taken and meet the expected targets. Can my yang boosting potion be considered a success? Well, Bai Qian-chun was a little embarrassed. There are only 15 food thieves in total, and not all of them are fire-type superpowers. I didn't see the specific ones just now. How about I ask first? The two eyebrows on the fat old man's fat face were wrinkled into caterpillars, and his tone was very disappointed. Why are there only 15? Why can't there be more for such a dangerous thing as smuggling to a superior star? There is strength in numbers, it's really they have no sense of safety at all, and today's young people are just frivolous and unstable. Bai Qian-chun nodded in agreement. How could such a small amount of labor be enough? What could only 15 people do? An old man and a young man reached a consensus, and they were all extremely dissatisfied with the number 15. Just Ye Yang, an innocent young man, was trembling next to him. Ying, why are two people who are engaged in medicinal materials research so scary? He could only hug himself silently, light wax in his heart for those 15 people, and let them wish for themselves. In the end, Mr. Mizu went with Bai Qian-chun. He couldn't wait to know how effective his hard-earned yang-boosting potion was. Although there was only one bottle, he could always tell whether it was good or bad. Ye Yang did not follow him because he had Du Le and Leng Xiao hold up their arms and kidnap him halfway. There are too many corn cobs growing on the paths in the village, and there is a serious shortage of labor. How can Ye Yang, a young man who can run and jump, be left alone? He must be captured to work together. So in the end, Bai Qian-chun only took Grandpa Mizu, an old man who was wandering outside the village, over 2 hills together to the place where the 15 people were previously held. Hey, stop, brother Gui, oh, if you tell this ancestor to stop growing, we will all be squeezed. Oh, don't hit me in the butt. A series of very miserable wailing sounds came. I saw that there was a jujube tree growing in the huge square cage that was originally made of giant vines. However, because the cage had a ceiling, it did not grow vertically upward, but grew horizontally inside the cage. Looking from the direction of Bai Qian-chun, one can only see the large and round roots of the jujube tree in the sifang cage, which almost occupies the entire bottom of the sifang cage. The branches of the jujube tree hang down, with dense branches and leaves mixed in the green leaves. Fist-sized red jujubes completely obscure the roots and branches of the jujube tree, so you can only vaguely see them. A single jujube tree crowded the entire square prison, and the 15 people originally locked inside were struggling to survive inside, each showing their special abilities. There was a giant vine holding the edge of the square cage with both hands and feet like a tailless monkey, grinning, with a twisted face, and was afraid to move as the branches pushed against its back. Some had their faces scratched, and their bodies were covered with numerous tiny wounds as they struggled to climb and dodge among the branches and leaves. Another one was pushed directly to the top, shoulder to shoulder with the giant vine on the top of the square cage, cheek to cheek. Only his small head can squeeze out of the hole. It is impossible for ordinary people to achieve his achievement of getting out of the cage with one head and gaining partial freedom. In comparison, those who lie on the ground like dead bodies and stay calmly in the small gap between the roots of the tree are in better condition. because they have not been scratched by the thorns on the jujube branches. Small wounds. They are all quite weird-looking people, and coupled with this painted-faced cat shape, they are really unsightly. Baikin Chun's mouth twitched, and she began to doubt their IQ. The fat old man Mizu watched from the side and the corners of his eyes and mouth twitched. Then his fat face wrinkled with worry. Are their minds okay? It won't affect the efficacy of my medicine, right? Probably, it should be good. The people in the square cage seemed to have discovered their existence. A man with a particularly big head who was being pushed outside and pulling the giant vine cage suddenly rolled his eyes and cried with joy. He waved his hands and performed a macho cry for them on the spot. Star Master, you are finally back, please help me, my back is almost broken. The person riding on the tree branch and being pushed on top had tears in his eyes, and his little head burst into tears. Yes, my ass is going to be pricked by thorns too. Nongui, who was lying on the ground and looking at the safest place, heard the voice and carefully turned his face in their direction. He smiled weakly and showed her big white teeth, sucked in his breath and begged, "What? Star Master, this is all an accident, please see if you can let our brothers out first." Although their wounds are not big, they are many, and the small and dense pain will also affect their work. These words hit the target immediately. Although Bai Chun still wanted to watch the good show for a while, what she lacked most now was these free laborers. Injuries can be injured, and they will hurt themselves anyway, but they must not affect her work. Live. She waved her hand, and a ball of green light rushed towards the giant vine. The fire element couldn't be burned, the wood element couldn't move, and the giant vine cage that imprisoned 15 people fell apart on the spot like a limp green snake. The few people who were holding it to avoid the attack of jujube tree thorns suddenly lost their support and fell down one after another. It was all right for him to pull on all four sides, and he fell directly to the ground, so it was probably a mess. However, the little head that was pushed to the top was not so lucky, and he fell directly into the thorns of the jujube tree. Inside, I screamed in pain. Seeing that even the branches could not stop his falling, Nongui, who was lying on the ground with serious injuries and had no time to move, was about to be hit by a flying accident and vomited blood. A vine appeared out of the sky and crossed the back collar of his little head. Hang him among the thorns, leaves and dates. The small open space on the little head's face, which was smaller than the others, was now covered with thin blood streaks. If the more serious thorns were pulled out, a small column of blood would fly out. The little head, who was hurting everywhere on his face, realized something, immediately covered his face and burst into tears. "Oh, I'm disfigured. My face, which was not very good looking in the first place, is completely ruined now. I can't get a wife, so I have to. You will pay the single tax for the rest of your life. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs." Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 82. The corner of Baikin Chun's mouth twitched. "Hey, this is a pretty self-aware little guy." Nongui, who had escaped unharmed below, opened his eyes and looked at the little head above him that was swaying in the bushes and crying like a storm. His face was also speechless, but it soon turned to happiness. He clutched his ribs. The position moved away from the base of the tree little by little. Finally, after completely leaving the area where the little head fell, he sighed in relief and sat up slowly. The little head that was caught by the vines at the back of the collar was slowly lowered to sit on the ground. Seeing that this free laborer was about to cry, he was kind enough not to give him a second critical blow. Nongui showed a satisfied smile, thinking that this little girl's Star Master still had a clear conscience, but the next second the Star Master, whose conscience was still intact, gave them a heavy blow on the spot. "I've prepared the poison, you can eat." This sentence sounds much more powerful than De Lang took medicine. Nongui's face froze on the spot, and he looked in disbelief at the extremely beautiful little girl in front of him, who still glowed when the shade of the tree fell. "Now, Do you want to eat now? Bai Qianchun nodded with a cold look. Yes, if you don't want to eat now, save it for the new year. Hurry, you can go out after eating. The village needs help. The fat old man Mizu tugged at the corner of her clothes and said, leave a fire superpower to test the medicine for me. Oh, Bai Qianchun responded, then looked at Nongui. How many fire power users are there in your team? Grandpa Mizu recently prepared a new potion that is good for fire power users. You can give me someone to try. This person can stop taking my poison pills today and wait until the potion wears off tomorrow. The 5 fire-type superpowers in the team suddenly raised their heads, their eyes were shining, and they even forgot to cry out in pain. There is no need to take poison, is there such a good thing? As the leader, Nongui, who has some brains, felt that this matter was not simple. He was worried that the brothers would fall for it without any brains, so he quickly asked, has no one else tried this medicine? You want to use us as a test medicine, the white mouse. Bai Qianchun smiled and gave him a meaningful look, don't say it so harshly. Although no one else has tried it yet, we can guarantee that it will never kill anyone. Are you right, Grandpa Mizu? Mizu nodded cooperatively, yes, according to the effect I said, it can repair the fire-type superpower core. If the superpower core is okay, it can increase the space for storing fire source power, so that the fire power in your body can be stored. The superpower core becomes stronger. In my expectation, it will have no side effects, but clinical data still needs to be collected. The fat old man is not a particularly honest person in this regard. He talks about the benefits in a very nice way, but the risks are vague. But the 5 fire-type superpower users on the opposite side still hesitated. As long as the potion is not officially released, any side effects may occur. They don't want to bear the unknown possibility for such a small benefit. But people whose lives can be directly sentenced to death have no say. If they don't want to try this medicine, they have to try it. In the end, the 5 fire-type superpowers sat together, and rock-paper-scissors introduced the final loser, Mao Wu. A simple and honest man with extremely long earlobes and a kind-hearted appearance. He walked out with a face full of bloodstains and said with a wry smile, let me try the old man's potion. Mizu immediately looked at him with kind eyes, then took out his precious yang-boosting potion and handed it over. Don't be afraid, it won't kill anyone, just drink it in one go, just like drinking water, nothing else. Precautions. Mao Wu took it solemnly, and finally glanced in Nongui's direction. I will not change my last words. Brother Gui, if anything happens to me, just follow the will. After the explanation, he didn't delay. He closed his eyes and raised his head and drank the potion in his hand with a heroic breath. Do you feel anything? Mizu didn't pay attention to his last words. She just stared at his face eagerly, as if she wanted to see a flower. Mao Wu smacked his mouth and held it in for a while before saying, it seems a little hot. Hot, hot is just right. I added fire flowers. This is the effect of this medicine. Mizu nodded, then stared at him with bright eyes and continued to ask, what other feelings do you have? Mao Wu wiped the beads of sweat that had appeared on his forehead, fanned it with his hand, frowned and felt it carefully, and said hesitantly, I don't feel anything except heat. Maybe it's because the medicine is still not working. Didn't come up. Mizu sighed regretfully, then just wait. Bai Qianchun saw that the two of them had gone hand in hand to sit under the giant tree and chatted. Then she turned back and signaled the farmer in front of her with her eyes, eat quickly, 1 piece for each. They are not as good as the tall one just now. Brother Ear is refreshing. The peasant nobles looked aggrieved, thinking that this was poison, so it was natural for them to hesitate. But under Bai Qianchun's cruel and cold gaze, he did not dare to say these words, so he had to call on his brothers who had suffered serious crimes to face the bleak life again. Nongui closed his eyes and took the lead in swallowing a black, round poison pill. Bai Qianchun's words, which had no emotion but were full of mockery in his ears, were ringing. I haven't named this medicine before, but to commemorate it, it finally came to the stage, so I was on the road just now. It is now named 10 days pain. After eating it, you will be poisoned and painful every 10 days, so you must remember to ask me for the antidote the day before, otherwise you will be the one suffering. But there are also some benefits after eating it, such as the metabolism in the body will be accelerated, and the small wounds on your body will heal quickly. Nangui was sweating profusely on his forehead and raised his hands tremblingly. Will it hurt when you first start eating? Bai Qian-chun paused. No. But I feel a lot of pain now. The pain comes from the internal organs, ranging from small pain to severe pain. Hiss, I can't stand it anymore. Nangui hugged himself tightly and fell to the ground with a pale face in pain. And it was like he was opening a floodgate. When he fell, the 13 people around him also immediately started to attack, and they howled in pain one after another. Looking around, these 14 people's faces were pale, their facial features were wrinkled in pain, and they were rolling on the ground in pain. In just a few seconds, they were covered in sweat, as if they had just been fished out of the water. Like a drowned dog. Bai Qian-chun raised his eyebrows in surprise and looked at them. One person can be said to be an excellent actor, but 14 people are like this. It cannot be that all 14 people are acting masters. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 83. Bai Qian-chun frowned and squatted down to hold Nangui, who was so painful that he rolled to her feet, and felt his pulse. Then he suddenly realized, the medicinal properties have been enhanced, so the effect of the medicine took effect as soon as I took it. The corners of her lips curled up, her brows relaxed, and there was a research look in her eyes. This is good news. Are the medicinal properties of the medicinal materials grown on Wuyuan planet enhanced? Is this true for all medicines? Or is it just some of them? How many kinds? With an inquiring mind, when Mao Wu was about to rush to help, she took out a porcelain bottle from her arms, pinched Nangui's cheeks, and poured an antidote into his mouth. The antidote quickly took effect. 3 seconds later, Nangui, who was so painful that he was arching like a shrimp, gradually calmed down, no longer sweating, and his pale complexion gradually recovered. Bai Qian-chun narrowed her eyes and looked down at him. The shadow falling from above covered most of him. Then she said with interest in her voice, the antidote has also become stronger. It seems that Mu-Yuan all the medicinal materials grown on the star have enhanced medicinal properties. Looking at this alone, she definitely made a profit by signing a contract with that little star spirit. The corner of her mouth curled up with an unknown meaning. Nangui, who had just recovered from the pain and was panting heavily, was trembling in his heart. Devil, this Mu-Yuan Star Lord is not just a cruel little girl. Nothing more, but a devil. Are you okay? Just stand up. Your brothers are still in pain. This bottle is the antidote. Go and feed it to them. Bai Qian-chun put down a porcelain bottle in front of him, and then seemed to lose it. She stopped looking at him as if interested and stood up directly. Only then did Nangui really react. The pain in his body that caused all the internal organs to shift had really disappeared. He seemed to feel a little more relaxed. Even the 3 broken ribs that he had broken before were no longer as painful as before, but only faintly. The pain is no longer so unbearable. He was surprised, but the painful wailing sounds of his brothers were still echoing in his ears. He didn't think much about it. He quickly grabbed the porcelain bottle in front of him and got up, staggering to give medicine to each of his brothers. 2 minutes later, the 14 people collapsed on the ground like drowned dogs, like fish stranded on the shore, their chests heaving violently, as if they had just escaped from death in a trance. Especially the little head who was fed the antidote at the end was paralyzed on the ground with blank eyes and vomiting soul, like a little girl who had just been hummed. It can be seen that the pain on their bodies is gone, but the mental trauma is still left. Mao Wu looked at the silently shrinking sense of his presence, and couldn't help but feel lucky that he drank the potion instead of taking the poison, otherwise he would have suffered like this. After he gets the poison pill tomorrow, he must ask Little Star-Lord to give him the antidote pill first. After he takes the poison, he immediately stuffs the antidote into his mouth, so he doesn't have to worry about the pain of the poison attack. Mizu, the fat old man next to him, poked his arm restlessly. Is the medicine not working yet? Seeing Baikin Chun's pills taking effect so quickly, the fat old man felt really itchy and didn't want to wait any longer. Mao Wu came back to his senses, quickly lowered his face, and carefully felt his physical condition. Then his pupils narrowed slightly and he said with some surprise, "It seems to have worked. My superpower core can hold more, there are so many fire powers." Mizu rubbed her hands together excitedly. "How much more has it increased?" Mao Wu stretched out 2 fingers, and his thumb and index finger made a gap of 1 millimeter, which was difficult to see with the naked eye. "It's probably just a few. It looks almost negligible. If you don't feel it carefully, you won't be able to feel it at all." Mizu. The fat head hung down and he grabbed his hair dejectedly. "That shouldn't be the case. The effect is too bad. What is the problem?" When Bai Qianchun came over, she saw him muttering, looking a little crazy, and looking like he was trapped in his own world. Mao Wu scratched his hair and sat next to him in embarrassment. He wanted to comfort him but couldn't. In the end, he had to smile awkwardly at Bai Qianchun. He really tried his best. Bai Qianchun raised her eyebrows and glanced at him with a slight smile, then her eyes fell on Miju's short and chubby body, and directly pointed out, "It may appear in the medicinal materials themselves. Now that the Mu-Un star is turned on, the medicinal properties will increase. Okay, Grandpa Miju's bottle of Yang boosting potion only contains lilac flowers after the Mu-Un star was opened. But the other ingredients are still the same as before. If the potency of one strong and one weak is out of balance, the intended effect will not be achieved." The words woke up the dreamer, and Miju's chubby face suddenly brightened up, and he cheered up again. "You are right, the problem lies in the imbalance of the medicine. I have to go back and prepare a new bottle." He was short and chubby, but he moved very fast. As soon as he finished speaking, he ran away in a flash. Bai Qianchun used her powers to create a path for people to walk along the way. He would not get lost if he returned along the path, so she was not worried. She only watched his back disappear into the grass before looking at it. Xiang Mao said, "You don't have to take Shirai pain these days. Let's cooperate with Grandpa Mizu to prepare his medicine. As for if you betray my trust and want to take advantage of this opportunity to escape, you can try." Mao Wu was glanced at by her cold eyes, and he suddenly felt as if he was being targeted by a huge and unshakable beast. A layer of cold sweat broke out on his back. He nodded quickly. "Don't worry, Star-Lord, I won't run away. My brothers are here and I can't escape alone." Bai Qianchun glanced at him. That was pretty much it. Then her eyes fell on him again, and she said in a calm tone, "You still have your communicator with you, right? Have you contacted the Black God sect?" When Mao Wu, Nongui, and others heard this, the hairs on their bodies suddenly stood up. Mao Wu's scalp was numb, but he nodded with difficulty despite the burning eyes of his brothers behind his back. "We sent a message to the Black God sect when we were bound in the giant cocoon. The mission has changed, so we naturally have to report the situation. To change the mission danger level, but we haven't sent any messages since then, and although we are mercenaries of the Black God religion, if we are caught in vain, the Black God religion will not send anyone to rescue us unless we send it ourselves. The mission is to hire people to come and rescue." Oh dash Bai Jianchun looked away from him, her tone still a little regretful. I thought pulling out the radish and bringing out the mud would bring out a bunch. Mao Wu, Nongui, and others looked at each other. Does she still want someone to come over? Nongui had a clear understanding on his face. Others have nothing, but this devil wants to use his labor force with nothing. Sure enough, the devil's mind is different from that of ordinary people. For an ordinary person, how could she not be afraid and still be enthusiastic about smuggling more mercenaries into her planet? I would like to inform you that if there are no accidents in the future, 4 chapters will be updated every day, and they will be updated at 8:30 every night. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 84. The 15 Nongui people who had already seen the power of 10 days of pain did not dare to have any evil thoughts. They followed Bai Jianchun back to the village obediently, and then Bai Jianchun handed it over to Yaqin. Allocate labor force. Yaqin's ability as a contractor is quite good, and the 15 people from Nongui were clearly assigned as soon as they came over. The 2 wood-type superpowers followed him to build a treehouse on the river bank. The metal-type superpower went to harvest crops around the village. The earth-type superpower and the star people worked together to clear the way around the village, trying to clean up one person. It looks like a human being, not a village occupied by an army of plants. When the people of the empire come from outside to travel, this village will be their facade of Muyuan planet, and the facade must not be too cold. As for those with fire powers, they are of little use for the time being. They are all assigned to carry sacks and do hard work. As soon as these 15 young and strong laborers who could be used at will and squeezed to death as long as they survived came online, the star citizens in the village suddenly felt that the pressure was greatly reduced, and one by one they applauded their suggestions at the time. As expected, these thieves, it's better for the novice thieves to save their lives and work as free tool men. 15 people can do as much work as all their star citizens combined. For this reason, a group of old men and women gave them a very happy smile and served them more every time they ate. Although Nongui felt that the way these old men and women looked at his brothers looked like pigs that could be slaughtered after being fed and fattened, they still couldn't resist the temptation of delicious meals. They are a group of low-level mercenaries who usually drink nutrient solution for 3 meals or deal with 1 meal casually. When have they ever had such a good meal? Even if there is no meat, under Leng Xiao's father's superb cooking skills, vegetarian dishes have become particularly delicious, and you can even taste the meat. After a few meals, Nongui was almost corrupted by these damn delicacies. He wanted to quit his job as a mercenary and move back to Muyuan planet to settle down as a star citizen. Bai Jianchun has also had a very fulfilling 2 days. The first batch of construction arrangements for Muyuan Star has been handed over to the chief steward, Grandpa Yaqin. She will supervise the process a little. During the day, she is more focused on collecting medicinal materials and making balls. On the way to make money, I also exchanged ideas with the fat old man Mizu, who was open to learning about the efficacy of medicinal materials and pharmaceutical issues. Although Bai Jianchun was mostly giving lectures and imparting tips, Bai Jianchun also learned a lot of useful things from Mizu, such as using robots to replace manual dispensing. In her previous life, she also thought about using machines to replace labor and make more pills to benefit all the suffering people. However, in her previous life, the world was prone to wars, technology was not developed, and the machines were just ordinary assembly line industrial machines, which were completely incapable of making pills. The requirements are simply incomparable to the robots in this interstellar world. After the fat old man Mizu talked about the advantages of robot dispensing, Bai Jianchun was very excited. Isn't this a tool that can perfectly replicate the process of making meatballs? Who can have a robot that is precise, meticulous, and completes every step at a fixed time and in a quantitative manner? Who can be as loyal as a robot, who will not despise boring work and strictly implement every instruction given by its master? Who can guarantee that they have seen the magic of pills and have no selfish or other ideas? Therefore, the emergence of robots is simply the best help for her to expand the meatball industry. Her ambition to sell meatballs to every household can finally be realized. But just when she was imagining things, Mizu gave her a head-on blow, knocking her back to reality. This kind of robot that specializes in dispensing is not available on the market. We only have a few in our pharmacist association. Our old president spent a lot of money to have it customized by a master of mecha manufacturing with funding from the empire. If you want one, a robot that specializes in making pills like yours is of a different type than the robot we use to prepare medicines, so we still have to spend money to tailor-make a robot with a new program. Bai Qian-chun forced a smile and asked, how many star coins does it cost to customize a tailor-made meatball-making robot? Mizu made a gesture with his fat fingers and said, 150 million. Puff. This is the sound of vomiting blood in her heart. She still carries 400 million in taxes, and now she wants another 150 million for a robot. Haha, it is not life-threatening to pay for money. Fortunately, Miju's next words eased her anxiety a little. This is the price of the first meatball-making robot. Once this template is available, the subsequent meatball-making robots will not be that expensive to make based on this template. Each robot will cost less. The price of the robot is probably between 1 million and 2 million star coins. So the most important thing is the price of hiring a mecha production master to design a customized robot. Bai Qian-chun took a deep breath and said. Mizu nodded, yes. Bai Qian-chun narrowed her eyes, and the thoughts in her mind took a 180-degree turn. She thought of the topic she had discussed with Ye Yang before. Didn't Ye Yang want to learn how to make mechas? Then after I finish my studies, will I be able to design a customized robot or something like that? You don't have to spend money on your own. She had no doubt about Ye Yang's intelligence in this area. It only took him 3 years to surpass his master who had taught him mechas for decades. There was no reason why he was so slow in learning how to make mechas. Well, mecha manufacturing courses must be arranged for him as soon as possible. Ye Yang, who was eating and drinking happily next to Leng Xiao, suddenly felt a chill on his back and almost dropped the kebab in his hand. Who was plotting against his roasted cauliflower? He turned his head and looked around warily. Leng Xiao glanced at him coldly. Don't just eat it for yourself, give some to Sister Chun. Oh, Ye Yang looked away suspiciously, then quickly stuffed the roasted cauliflower into his mouth, nodding repeatedly, I know, I am the kind of person who eats alone. Sister Chun every day during the day rolling the meatballs, and having to take that kohlrabi star spirit all over Muyuangxing to clear the road and divide the picking areas at night must be very hard, so I will not wait for you to bake these bunches of yam meatballs and take them to the Sister Chun, please make up for it. Leng Xiao paused while holding the bamboo skewer and said nothing. He just lowered his head and carefully placed the strings of yam balls in the middle, and carefully applied a layer of sauce on them. In his previous life, apart from being able to fight, he also loved to eat. For this reason, he also spent a lot of time learning from several famous chefs. His cooking skills became better and better, and he was now comparable to a master chef. It just so happened that his cheap father Leng Jun was also a great chef, and he was very good at it. In the past 2 days, the materials have been available, and the father and son have studied several sauces together because of the same interest and hobbies. For example, the barbecue sauce he is using now, as long as it is brushed with a layer, the grilled vegetarian dishes can be compared to the meat is fragrant. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 85. Ye Yang acted as an errand boy and ran to Miju's small courtyard with 2 plates of fragrant kebabs brushed with sauce. He saw that his grandfather was also here, with a serious look on his face. Bai Qian-chun's clear and soft face also had a pair of dark eyebrows frowning slightly at this time, and a hint of displeasure leaked out of her dark eyes. Ye Yang shrank his neck at that time, and his long and cheerful strides turned into cautious little steps. He slowly walked in from outside the fence and took a sneak look at the courtyard, but he was not affected at all. Grandpa Mizu is still immersed in his cheerful world of picking. At this time, he was particularly envious of such a focused person. Seeing two pairs of eyes in the yard shooting towards him, Ye Yang couldn't help his scalp numbing, and squeezed out a dry smile at the corner of his mouth. I'm just here to give some to Sister Chan eat. What happened to you guys? You look so serious. Bai Qian glanced at him, and the unhappiness in her eyes disappeared. Although there was still no smile on her face, the pressure on her body disappeared. Then she spoke softly, the second-hand speed car we ordered was intercepted. What? Ye Yang immediately became serious. He knew that the flying car was an important part of their harvest on Wuyuan Star. Without the second-hand flying car, they would not be able to go further. He couldn't help but ask, who cut off the beard? Are we going to snatch it back or buy it elsewhere? It is true that you can buy it elsewhere, but we have no way to find a second-hand speedster. It is far away and takes a long time to transport. There are few cargo starships that can pass through our Jupiter planet. If they transport it, they may have to pay high transportation fees. It's better to just buy a new flying car and have it delivered to your home with free shipping. Then let Aunt Yes family help buy it from the main star and then bring it here. Didn't she say that she has many connections? In this way, although the speeder arrives a little late, we can still see it in 10 days, Ye Yang pondered. Suggested. Bai Qian shook his head directly. Their family had already set off from the main star with their things on the day I decided to open Jupiter to allow them to hold a wedding, and now they are flying on the road. Besides, it is the worst thing to return favors. Things. While talking about the pros and cons, she thought about the best solution in her mind, but after much thought, it was best for her to go there in person. Bai Qian's eyebrows were slightly cold. As for the people who cut off the beards, it's the Li family of Yeo Guangstar. The second-hand speedster dealer told us that Yeo Guangstar is applying for a superior star, so recently the owner of Yeo Guangstar has been engaging in public welfare activities. Those second-hand cars were purchased by the Li family for these public welfare activities, and then they will be given away for free as welfare and other things, in order to improve the favorability of the people of the empire and realize the demand for rising stars. The second-hand car dealer is quite a smooth man. He sent us a message asking us to participate in charity activities on the Shaking Light Star. We might even get a few speed cars for free. Bai Qian had to admit that she was quite excited about this free offer. Moreover, Jupiter is not far from Shake Light Star. It only takes 8 hours to reach it by starship. The trip back and forth does not consume much of her time. In addition, the second-hand car dealer also gave them another piece of news. The Yeo Guangstar is in the star rising evaluation stage. The prices on the planet will definitely decrease. There are also some merchants who will do some things after receiving the instructions from the Star Master. There is a limited time promotion. If they want to buy a speed car, the price of buying it on the Shaking Light Star at this time will definitely be much lower than buying it on any other planet. This is the reason why Bai Qian decided to go to Shaking Light Star in person. The Muyuan planet is so poor that everything is lacking. You have to buy everything, from building materials, synthetic metals for paving the ground, agricultural tools and machines, to salt, towels, pots and other daily necessities. These are all Muyuan. It cannot be produced independently on the planet. And she herself also needs customized porcelain bottles and medicinal seeds. Her big business of making pills to make a fortune is now short of medicinal materials. These days, with the help of the Kohlrabi star spirit, she has learned about all the medicinal materials on Muyuan planet. Although there are indeed many medicinal materials on the entire planet, there are still many types missing. She needs one of the disguise pills now. There are no medicinal materials. As for the seeds she once collected in Zhenlong City, haha, almost all of them have been eaten by the foodie of the star spirit who said it needed to be replenished. Only some seeds that it didn't like still retain the fire seeds. Now they are eaten by bye-bye. 1,000 purebreds arrived on Jupiter, waiting for them to grow again. These seeds have been Baikin Chun's focus for the past 2 days. She doesn't know if the seeds she brought in her previous world can survive on the Muyuan planet, or if any changes will occur. In this case, the kohlrabi star spirits are not aware of it. Method prediction. So if possible, she would like to buy more seeds from Shaking Light Star to enrich the variety of medicinal herbs. After this calculation, Yao Guangxing really had to go. Yang, a country bumpkin who had never been to Muyuan Star, was eager to try. Then I'll go too, I can help Sister Chun carry her bags. Bai Qian Chun glanced at him and rejected him ruthlessly. No. Yang's eyes filled with tears. Why? Bai Qian Chun, no money. This reason is so powerful that it directly hammers Yang into the center of the earth, and he doesn't dare to fool around anymore. He knew that as long as money was mentioned, their sister Chun would be very picky. Besides, it was not necessary for him to go on this trip. Bai Qian Chun couldn't even think of being a bodyguard, so he was being unreasonable. So Bai Qian Chun was the only one to go on this trip. If others wanted to follow, that was fine. They would pay for all the travel expenses themselves and not go to the public account. On Muyuan Star, the star citizens whose pockets were cleaner than their faces immediately closed their microphones. At 10 o'clock that night, Muyuan Starry Skyport. Bai Qian Chun looked at Yang and Leng Xiao who came to see her off in the dark, and couldn't help but give a few more words. The news that Muyuan Seeing is opening its doors has spread. Maybe someone will come in the next 2 days. If you guys have a pleasant and kind attitude, you can receive them as per the previous arrangements. If you have a bad attitude and want to find trouble, don't be shy. I left a lot of poison in Grandpa Miju's house. If you encounter any difficult people, you can't solve them. Grandpa Yechin can't make a decision, then it's up to you, and I can prepare the antidote in time when I come back. The two nodded solemnly. Don't worry, Sister Chun, we know how to handle it. Bai Qian Chun raised her lips slightly. Okay, then Muyuan Star will be left to you. Of course, I care about you more than other star citizens. I only hope that you can protect them on the premise of protecting yourself, but if it is endangered, I would never want you to trade your life for theirs. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 86. As the team members they were most familiar with in their previous life, Yang Lengxiao and the two naturally knew what their sister Chun was worried about. Between them, the members of the team were always more important to each other. If they wanted to be kind and save others, they must be able to protect them. Own circumstances. They did this very well in their previous life, but with many more blood relatives in this life, they hesitated a little. Bai Qian Chun naturally saw their performance, and she felt a little sad in her heart. It had been a year, and she was not surprised that they had developed affection for their original relatives, because she knew that even the people in the team had the coldest expressions. Leng Xiao has a soft heart. How could they not have feelings after spending so much time together day and night? Especially Leng Xiao's parents. His mother is a valiant and kind-hearted woman. She is also an absolutely qualified mother. Because Leng Xiao only has one son, she gave him almost all maternal love, from food and clothing to study and education. Planning for the future is almost meticulous. His father is also a generous and cheerful man, and he has the same interests and hobbies as Leng Xiao. Although they are father and son, they are more like-minded friends. Under the care of such a family, how could Leng Xiao not break the ice and be soft-hearted? Bai Qianchun smiled helplessly, looked at them and said, "Okay, I'm kidding you. No matter how you upgrade, you can't upgrade to a life-safe level. After all, Jupiter is also one of the 7 most important origin stars. Now if it is reopened, the Empire will definitely pay attention to it. As long as the brain is not made of elm wood, it will not dare to kill star citizens on it. Also, I already have some ideas about how to practice your skills and abilities together. You can start trying it when I come back." "Ah, great, Sister Chun is so powerful." Ye Yang's eyes lit up with excitement and he jumped up on the spot. Leng Xiao's stern face relaxed, and a touch of warmth and eagerness appeared in his cold eyes. The starship Bai Qianchun boarded still belonged to the Sheng family. After using her VIP card to eat a delicious late-night snack on the starship, she went directly into the lower-class warehouse that she bought for 66 star coins. "I went to sleep in my room. When I opened my eyes the next day, the starship would probably reach the shaking light star. Compared to her, who felt at ease and fell asleep, Fen Yuyu on the other starship was engulfed in shadow like a dark cloud. After standing still for 3 seconds, he began to scratch his hair angrily, and then he paced back and forth in the room anxiously. Not even the luxurious bed could arouse his desire for sleep. As for why this happened, the reason was all because Sheng Baining sent a message more than half an hour ago, inviting him and his wife to go to Muyuan Star for sightseeing and relaxation. As Sheng Xiaoxiu's wedding invitations were sent out, the news that the Lord of Muyuan Star opened its doors and welcomed all the people of the Empire to enter Muyuan Star for sightseeing and picking has spread on the main star. People with money and leisure will naturally don't miss this great travel opportunity. Now that the Huayao Empire has entered a period of relative peace, there are internal infighting. Muyuan Star, as the origin star, is also an existence that cannot be ignored among the forces within the Empire. Therefore, the forces that are still waiting and watching are also ready to take action. This Muyuan Star sightseeing and picking trip is a perfect opportunity for them to find out the details of the Muyuan Star Master. As the Master of Jinyuan Star and one of the 7 closely related Masters of the Origin Star, Fen Yuyu will naturally not miss this opportunity. So when Sheng Baining sent a message asking, of course he answered go immediately. So he was asked by Sister Shanda, who cared like an elder, "What about your wife? Can you take her with you to relax?" The smile on Fen Yuyu's face froze at that time, because the expression was too obvious, which directly caused Sheng Baining's woman-sensitive radar to activate, and she sent another sharp question from her soul, "You are smiling so ugly, did you have a quarrel with your sister-in-law, already?" Next, Fen Yuyu encountered a half-hour-long storm of ideological education from Sister Shinda. It was similar to holding your wife when she was happy, coaxing your wife when she was angry, pampering your wife when she was sick, etc. The series of wife-oriented guides to harmonious couples also listed for him the current divorce rate and the proportion of men who are single in the Huayao Empire. As a married man who is no longer a bachelor, he has now successfully put himself in the proportion of successful men who have beautiful women. He must not go downhill and return to the ranks of bachelors. Wait for it to be clear and logical, and look forward to his brother Jackie Chan's long speech. Strive to successfully brainwash Fen Yuyu and become a new good husband for the new generation of Huayao Empire. Not to mention, in the end, Fen Yuyu really had the idea that he was really a scumbag husband for letting his weak, pitiful, innocent, fake wife wander around alone. Fen Yuyu, that's terrible. At the same time, for the first time, he felt sympathy for Huo Quancheng, his brother-in-law who married his sister Sheng Sheng. Good guy, it turns out that his status in the family is so low. He decided at that time that he would be more pleasing to his brother-in-law in the future and would cause him less trouble. After all, it is quite difficult for him to marry such a domineering wife with a wife-first mentality. After sympathizing with Huo Quancheng, he began to sympathize with himself. Because after his sister Sheng Sheng finished educating her, she showed the same courage that she used to say on the garbage planet, and forcibly ordered him to take his wife to Jupiter with him no matter what. The air in Wuyuan star is good and the wood element is abundant. It is best for wood-type people like his wife. If you go to Wuyuan star and take a walk, buy something, all minor ailments will be cured, etc. A series of words of concern and consideration for his wife. She just didn't take into account how her biological brother Fenyuya felt. Couldn't he who grew up together, who was not like a real brother but better than a real brother, still inferior to her younger siblings who she had never met and only lived in rumors? Fenyuya didn't quite understand his eldest sister's thoughts. But this is not the point now. The point is, where can he find a wife to accompany him to Muyuan for a walk and shopping? Is it possible to beg that annoying woman Bai Jianchun to come back and cooperate with him in acting? No, no, no. After several conversations, he knew very clearly that Bai Jianchun was no longer a pitiful woman, but a woman who was even more difficult and irritating than his eldest sister. He couldn't kill her even when he was angry, and he had nothing to do with her. Wei woman. He definitely can't beg her. He has never begged anyone in his whole life. In this case, there is only one way left to make her agree to cooperate: inducement. But what does that woman Bai Jianchun like? He scratched his handsome and neat hair, and without sleeping, he gritted his teeth and dialed a message to the only cousin who had been with Bai Jianchun for a long time. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 87. Feng Gui's eyes stared at the lazy and handsome man on the other side of the communication with a searching light. After looking back at him with those charming peach blossom eyes that seemed to be smiling but not smiling, she shrank her neck and subconsciously with a flattering smile. But then I thought about it. No, it was her cousin who was asking her for something, not her. And he certainly didn't notice that she had picked all the fruits on the fruit pot and hid them. So, Feng Gui got bolder, and she pretended to cough. Ahem, cousin, you finally woke up and wanted to coax your sister-in-law to come back, but it's a pity that it's too late. Your sister-in-law is living a good life outside now, and she will definitely not be happy now. I'll come back and be with you. Fenyuya's eyes flashed with surprise, and there was deep thought in his eyes. Do you know her current situation? Feng Gui raised her chin, and her tail almost curled up with pride. Of course, my sister-in-law and I have been friends for 8 years and are best friends. My sister-in-law also sent me a lot of travel photos. The scenery is very beautiful, and my sister-in-law said I'll be sending something good to me in a few days. My sister-in-law didn't say she wanted to send it to you. Fenyuya's sexy thin lips pursed slightly, feeling a little heartbroken. Absolutely no, not even a message. Is this fake husband of his so hopeless? After all, he paid her 100,000 yuan for living expenses. What a heartless woman. Fenyuya grinned at his teeth and looked at the bad little cousin opposite with a smile. I'm just going to ask you what your sister-in-law likes. Don't talk so much nonsense. Don't think I don't know what you're hiding. Those fruits, be careful, I tell Grandpa to go. Feng Gui choked suddenly and widened his eyes in shock. You, how did you know? Fenyuya raised his eyebrows proudly. I brought a pot of strawberry out, and it has all borne fruit again. The ones over there must have borne fruit as well. I don't know your virtue yet, so I must have secretly hidden it myself. Feng Gui, my cousin, this fox is really cunning and smart. In order to keep her fruits, she had no choice but to obey. After silently saying I'm sorry, sister-in-law, Feng Gui decisively began to help her cousin with suggestions. As for what my sister-in-law likes, there are many. She likes the small milk pot I bought for her, and she also likes the cooking pot. She likes it, and she also particularly likes the set of dishes and chopsticks painted with peonies, as well as the spatula, that apron, and that Fen Yuyu was almost confused as he listened to her counting them one by one. His long, handsome eyebrows furrowed, and there was obvious impatience on his handsome face. He interrupted Fengtanggui's eloquent mouth and asked directly, "Then tell me what's going on. She doesn't like it." Fengtanggui paused, thought about it carefully, and then was surprised to find, it seems that all the sisters-in-law I gave it to like it. Fen Yuyu, is he asking a fool? Fengtanggui seemed to feel that her plan had made her lonely. She scratched her head in embarrassment and smiled dryly, "Well, cousin, don't be jealous. Maybe my sister-in-law just likes me, so she likes me. Speaking of the things I gave you, cousin, what did you give to your sister-in-law?" Fen Yuyu. His face looked a bit foul, his handsome face was still a bit stiff, and he looked away with a guilty conscience. After thinking about it carefully, what did he give to that woman Bai Qianshun? The set of clothes when they first met, well, he asked his subordinates to buy them for him, and they didn't seem to fit well. The apartment she had lived in before was not considered a gift. The name was written as his own, so it could only be considered a loan to her to live in. Other than that, there seems to be no more. But then I thought about it, no, they are not a real couple, they are just a fake couple who each get what they need. Why would he, the fake husband, give things to that woman? Fen Yuyu frowned, feeling baffled by his sudden thought. In the end, he just blamed it on being brainwashed by his eldest sister just now, and he still hasn't recovered yet. Then Fengtanggui's annoying voice rang in his ears again, "Cousin, no, no, you haven't given anything to your sister-in-law, have you? You big pig's hooves, sure enough, it is right for my sister-in-law not to come back. You must deeply reflect on your own mistakes. My wife has to be coaxed, so it would be strange if you don't coax her to be good to you." Fengtanggui Fen Yuyu stared at her with a pair of peach blossom eyes with thin red eyes on his face, and threatened with an angry smile, "If you say anything more, I really want to beat you. I would like to send my greetings to Grandpa via communication. I think he especially wants to know what his dear granddaughter is hiding behind his back." Okay, I surrender, Fengtanggui was shocked, not daring to joke anymore, and quickly shouted, "By the way, I thought about it, I thought about what my sister-in-law likes, star coins, sister-in-law, she especially likes star coins. When she was still on the main star, she used the fruit she gave birth to sell star coins. I asked her why she still gave birth to so many fruits to sell when she obviously had a cousin who was raising her. She said it was the greatest pleasure in her life. I just like the feeling of seeing the numbers on my account increase." Fen Yuyu's brows finally relaxed, "I like star coins. This is simple, he has more star coins, so he can buy her back to act as a loving couple, and he will get both money and goods. Hey, cousin, you don't really want to give your sister-in-law star coins, do you?" Fengtanggui saw his moved expression and hurriedly stopped him, "This is wrong of you. Although my sister-in-law likes star coins, cousin, you can't just give star coins directly. If you want to give them to you, just give them all your wealth. Leave all the property to your wife. Otherwise, giving a little bit every time will not seem like something a couple would do. Instead, it will be like a trading reward, which is easy to influence. The relationship between husband and wife. And women still prefer small surprises, such as giving necklaces, earrings, rings, etc. I have never given these before, but all women like shiny jewelry, so you are right to give this." Fen Yuyu, who had already made up his mind, finally gave a good look to his cousin who worked hard to gain his favor and made suggestions. "Okay, I know what to do, it's so late, go to bed early, you guys don't girls all need beauty sleep? Go to bed early and don't stay up late, as it can easily lead to baldness." Fengtanggui roared in her heart, who called so late to disturb her beauty sleep? After seeing his cousin's face turning into a snarling face for a second, Fen Yuyu hung up the call in a good mood. Then he looked at the time, It was already 11 o'clock in the evening. He thought for a while and put the optical brain down again. Women all need to take beauty sleep, and that woman Bai Qianchun must have slept too. He'd better send her a message tomorrow. Later. Fen Yu, Wai Wei, my good sister, please say something nice to me in front of your sister-in-law. Just tell me what you want to eat and my cousin will buy it for you. Fen Tanggui, I was perfunctory by you in the past, but you can't reach me today. You little trash still want me to help you improve your favorability. Where did you go before? It's too late now. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 88. At 6 o'clock in the morning sun was rising, and the warm light shone down with a hint of coolness and a thin layer of water vapor belonging to the early morning. But the starry skyport of Shaking Light Star was already noisy at this time, and there was an endless flow of people, which was quite lively. Bai Qianchun walked out of the starship, still wearing a black mask on her face. A pair of exposed cold black eyes glanced at the technological and luxurious decoration in the starry skyport, and there was a bit of envy in her eyes. Compared with the starry skyport on Wuyuan Star, which is full of pits and ruins, this place is a luxurious metropolis, very glamorous and beautiful, and the time is several centuries behind. It seems that Muyuanxing still has a long way to go. She lowered her eyes slightly, suppressed the envy in her eyes, and turned her head to look at the few people in front of her who had walked out of the starship before her. They were talking enthusiastically about the free gifts at charity events on the Shaking Light Star thing. I came here from Tianyu Star. Brother, you can't lie to us. This Shaking Light Star is really so good, and it gives you a free flying car. No, I heard that it was a second-hand flying car bought from a second-hand dealer, not a new type of flying car. That's good. If you have a flying car, what else can you choose? I'd say that the Li family is so generous. They actually held such a charity event to celebrate Li Heu's promotion to Major General. It's really an advantage for us people. I have to keep my eyes peeled these days. Take a careful look at this shaking star with big eyes. If the welfare benefits of the star citizens are really that good, I will move here with my whole family and settle down. Humph, you don't understand this. On the surface, the Li family is celebrating the promotion of Major General Li Heu. In fact, Yao Guangxing has recently applied for a superior star. This activity is actually to promote and build momentum. Let us rate it. It's better to reach the star level smoothly. Hey, it doesn't matter what this event is for, as long as we can take advantage of it. Brother, please tell me where to get this free ride. Wait a minute, let me look through the guide I made. Yes, this free speed is not really free for white-collar workers. Before receiving it, you have to do some small things for the light star, such as the wood-type superpower. You can help the giant Central Park on Shake Light Star to spawn some plants. Water superpowers can go to the mother river of Shake Light Star to inject some fresh water into it. Fire superpowers can go to the central canteen to help light the fire. Metal superpowers can those who are capable can go to the mecha hall to help make some parts. Also, if you have a skill, for example, if you have good medical skills, you can go to a nursing home and help take care of patients. If you can make mechas, you can help the mecha masters. If you can drive mechas, you can go to the mecha hall to help with training. The manager of Shaking Light Star will give us a small card. After completing the small tasks in the quota, a red stamp will be stamped on it. Only by collecting 10 red stamps can we receive the free speed car. Oh, that's alright. Even though it's free, it feels more secure to do something and get something. But some people who are too lazy to eat and just want to take advantage have their opinions. What kind of bullshit public welfare? We are asked to do voluntary work even if it is said to be free. It's like selling dog meat on sheep's head. Ah, you trash, you just want to take advantage and get free things. If there is such a thing as pie in the sky in the interstellar world, you should be afraid that someone is using this to hang you, trying to trick you into selling you for £1. Well, free delivery, haha, no matter how rich you are, you can't afford it. His Lee family is so powerful, so he's not stupid. A group of people divided into two sides and started arguing in the starport. The guards patrolling around are used to it. Ever since the charity event of Shaking Light Star was publicized, such quarrels often break out among outsiders in the starry skyport. As long as it does not escalate to the level of a fight, they will not pay attention to it. Bai Qian-chun silently withdrew his gaze and took steps forward. Anyway, she already got the general information, so there was no need for her to stay here any longer and walk directly towards the outside of the starry skyport. But what she didn't notice was that as soon as she left, a domineering and powerful private starship docked at the starry skyport. A man with an evil look and a stern air about him who was not allowed to enter was walking with a pair of slender and powerful legs. She walked out of the VIP channel with long legs and a long stride. Fen Yuya pursed his thin lips tightly, and his seductive peach blossom eyes were now filled with a cold aura. Even though he was wearing white casual clothes, he had the cold feeling of a military uniform. The women who were originally obsessed with his appearance and were eager to try it out were, as soon as his cold eyes swept away, they all became discouraged and did not dare to step forward anymore, but their eyes still followed his figure involuntarily. Adjutant Zhuang Shu, who was following him silently, was a little puzzled. Wasn't the officer in a good mood yesterday, and had a glass of red wine in a very romantic way in the Starship restaurant? Why did he stay away from strangers after just one night? Is there frost in June? Did the lady run away again? Yes, that's right. According to Zhuang Shu's speculation, the reason why Fen Yuya came to Yeoguang Star in person to participate in the charity auction held by the Li family this time was because he was chasing his wife. Otherwise, how could he come from the main star in person with his lazy temperament? Come over. These matters such as participating in auctions were previously left to manager Yao. Combined with the officer's impatient and joyful appearance before coming out of the main star, it seemed that he was here to meet his sweetheart, and who else could the officer's sweetheart be besides his wife? Therefore, Zhuang Shu reasonably guessed that the wife who had run away from home was on the Shaking Light Star, and the officer came to see her under the guise of attending a charity auction. I don't know what Zhuang Shu was saying in his heart. The reason why Fen Yuyu, who was walking in front, was so serious and subconsciously pretended not to let strangers in was because he was actually thinking secretly in his heart that it was already 6 o'clock and he was having a beauty sleep. Time has passed. The woman should have woken up, right? Can he send a message? Should he send the message now or wait until after dealing with the Shaking Light Star matter before contacting her? But what if the woman is far away from Mu Yuan seeing and there is no time to rush over? Also, can the woman he lured with his star coins really agree to show her face and pretend to be a loving couple with him? Fen Yuyu, who had been criticized several times in a row, suddenly became less confident. At the end of the VIP channel, a man wearing a dark blue suit, a pair of gold-rimmed glasses on his tall nose, a gentle appearance, and a decent smile was standing there waiting elegantly. Behind him were several people in black. The bodyguard looks quite impressive. The eyes of the nymphomaniacs who were originally following Fen Yuya shone again. Wow, here is another top handsome guy. He has broad shoulders, a narrow waist, and long legs. The most important thing is that he has a gentle and elegant smile, and a particularly nice temperament. He doesn't have an aura that prevents strangers from entering. He looks like a warm-hearted man at first glance. Zhuang Ti, Sir Chu Zuxing must be so happy because he is coming to see his wife. Fen Yuyu, are you blind? Is this the joy of this young master to see his wife? It is the joy of finally getting rid of his eldest sister and not having to be forced to take his wife out. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 89. Fen Yu, who was still wandering in his mind, shrank his pupils and restrained other emotions. A sarcastic smile appeared on the monster's face as he looked at the man who came forward with a warm and elegant smile. The second young master of the Li family, Li Heun, is not as gentle and harmless as he seems on the surface. Compared to the arrogant and domineering young master Li Heshan who was left behind by the original wife of the Li family, he also has the highest meritorious deeds that are now famous. One of them is Major General Li Heu, and the one in the middle, Li Heun, is the most difficult person to deal with in this generation of the Li family. He is the same breed of fox as his father, Li Chao, the current head of the Li family. On the surface, he is a nice gentleman with a gentle smile, but he is very deep and has a deep conspiracy behind him. When did he trick you to death? I still don't know who the person who killed you is. Faced with such a person, Fen Yu naturally did not dare to underestimate distraction. Young Master Feng, welcome to our shaking light star. Li Heun had already walked 3 steps away and stopped, and gracefully performed an aristocratic salute. There was no trace of gloom on his gentle and handsome face. Very sincere and polite, with a charming smile. The fascinated girls held their faces in hands and were so excited. But Fen Yu seemed to be blind and couldn't see. He still raised his chin proudly and nodded slightly to him as a greeting. Thank you, Mr. Li, for welcoming me in person, but I don't have the time to be a monkey here. People are free to visit, so can we go now? The nymphomaniac women around him suddenly choked and their faces turned green and white, making them very ugly. This man is just mocking them. He obviously looks so good and evil, with a top-notch figure and face, but why does he just have a mouth? Li Heun's smile did not change, and his demeanor did not change. He nodded and made a gesture of invitation with a smile. Of course, Mr. Feng, please, we have already made arrangements for the hotel. I hope Mr. Feng will not dislike it. No, my Feng family's properties are all over the Huayao Empire. Why would I stay in a hotel when I'm comfortable in my own home? Just cancel it. I will go there on time when the charity auction starts. There is no need for Mr. Li to follow him. He can go back and do his own business bar. After saying that, an arrogant and very cool limited edition speed car appeared in the open space outside the starry skyport. Fen Yu stepped up his long legs and got on the car neatly without looking back. Zhuangshu had a sullen face and did not hold back. He followed suit and got into the driver's seat with well-trained movements. Then, as soon as the power was turned on, the speeding car swooped into the sky, submerged among countless speeding cars, and quickly disappeared away. The little deer in the hearts of the women who followed came back to life again. Their eyes were shining. Even if a man with money and good looks had such a poisonous mouth, they could do it. Against the background of the arrogant and cool speeding car, Li Heun, the most handsome man who was left behind, is no longer so charming. A bodyguard in black behind him glanced coldly in the direction of the speeding car with a rough face. He took a step forward, bent down beside Li Heun and asked for instructions. Young Master Yun, you need me to deal with him. The low, ferocious voice contained cold murderous intent. Li Heun looked back and glanced at him lightly, with a smile on his lips that did not even change. No, Mr. Feng and I are not enemies, at least not yet. Also, I told me before that young Master Feng is a good friend and that we can drink and chat together and discuss cooperation ideas. I also plan to have a drink with young Master Feng before leaving Yao Guangstar. The black-clothed bodyguard glanced at his master in surprise, but quickly put away his gaze, respectfully responded yes, then returned to his original position, raised his majestic and fierce face and scanned the people passing by him vigilantly. The nymphomaniac women who haven't left yet. Hey, the top-notch gentle and warm man is not bad at all, the bodyguards are so fierce, the family must be quite powerful. Lee Haeun, who noticed their gazes, gave them a warm smile, then turned around gracefully and led them away. This polite scene undoubtedly made the women present feel restless again. Their faces were flushed with excitement, and their eyes were filled with red hearts. Ah, I'm dead. He just smiled at me. His smile was so charming. As expected, it is better to be a warm man. The outside of the starry skyport looked much cooler. There were not many pedestrians on the spacious and clean technological streets. Instead, one after another public flying cars flew out from the starry skyport to all directions of the shaking light star. Some people bring their own flying cars, take them out as soon as they leave the starport, sit on them and fly away in a swoosh. But most people can only go to the public bus shelter and wait in line to get on the bus. Bai Qian-chun is one of these people. After leaving the Star Airport, she first checked the surrounding terrain, then went with the flow and followed the crowd. The bus shelter. Suddenly she heard a burst of women's nymphomaniacal screams from behind. She subconsciously turned her head and took a curious look. She only saw a group of black bodyguards and the faint figure in a blue suit who was protected in the middle. Judging from his tall and straight back and elegant walking posture, he must be a top-notch handsome guy with an extraordinary background, otherwise the group of girls who are fashionably dressed and from well-off families would not go crazy like that. But it was none of her business. She quickly looked away, raised her feet and followed a girl in front of her who was wearing a floral skirt and had a thin back, and kept up with the team. Ah, what are you doing? The girl in the floral skirt in front suddenly screamed in panic. Bai Qian-chun's half-closed eyes flicked open and she grabbed a dirty hand as fast as lightning. Ouch! A scream like a pig being slaughtered suddenly followed. Xian Zuxiao is a man from the team next door. He looks like he is 33 or 14 years old. At this time, Bai Qian-chun is holding his wrist tightly through his sleeves. He has a wretched fox-cheeked face with little flesh, the facial features are distorted in pain, and his cheeks are purple. He cried out in pain. When the mean-looking old lady behind the man saw her, her drooping face immediately panicked, and she shouted anxiously to Bai Qian-chun, "What are you doing? Why are you so mean, little girl? Let my son go, come on, you are bullying someone, the little girl is bullying someone." She howled miserably and rushed over to beat Bai Qian-chun. Bai Qian-chun raised her eyebrows, twisted the man's wrist and moved it to the side to avoid the old lady's blow, but the old lady refused to let go. She picked up the bag in her hand and chased her and hit her. Bai Qian-chun frowned, thinking in her mind, should she kick this old guy out or kick him out? But before the old lady could rush over, the girl in the floral skirt had come to her senses and rushed forward to stop the old lady fiercely. She was still yelling angrily, "What do you want to do? It's obviously you. My son was caught sneaking around on me, so don't think of confusing right and wrong and beating someone up. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs." Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 90. When the girl in the floral skirt shouted this, the people around her also understood. It turned out that the old lady was shouting to catch the thief, so several good young people who originally wanted to come over to help stopped. The old lady felt guilty after being called out, and her confidence was a bit lacking, but she had no intention of admitting her fault. Instead, her pair of resentful eyes glared fiercely at the girl in the floral skirt and cursed. "I blame my son for wearing such cool clothes. My son accidentally touched you a few times, and he has a lot of flesh. Humph, at worst, I will let my son marry you. We have 2 people in our family. If you have a house with 8 acres of land, you are lucky to marry my son." Seeing that this bad old woman didn't know how to repent and wanted to help her son eat swan meat, the girl in the floral skirt blushed, and immediately took a sip of her mouth, put her hands on her hips and shouted angrily, "You bad old woman is very bad, you are the only one. What a shame my son looks like. He has no flesh on his body. He has a sharp mouth and monkey cheeks and a sallow face. He looks like he is suffering from a terminal illness. Let alone a young and beautiful girl like me, he is married. No widow will ever choose to marry him again, so just leave it there and treat it like a treasure, and we don't care about it anyway. And I have the final say on what I wear. What's wrong with me wearing a floral skirt? The hem of the skirt reaches below my knees. It's very conservative. Your son has the nerve to blame me for committing a crime. Then if I hit your son a few more times, can you say that he is too vulgar and deserves a beating? The old woman was so angry that she gasped and opened her mouth to show her yellow teeth and wanted to retort. Who knew that this girl in a floral skirt was so powerful in fighting? Her little mouth was like a rabbit with iron teeth and copper teeth, and she gave her a powerful blow pushed back. So after the girl in the floral skirt received such a long-lasting and powerful verbal attack, the hateful old woman gave up completely. She didn't recover until the patrol came and took away her son. Her sinister and malicious eyes just looked at him with fear. Taking a look at the girl in the floral skirt, she followed the patrol in small steps, not daring to act blindly, which was like letting her son go. If her son was innocent. Apparently she felt that facing the law enforcement patrols was better than facing the sharp-tongued little girl in the floral skirt in front of her. Of course, Bai Jianchun was no weaker than the girl in the floral skirt, and she was particularly lethal. When the patrol took away the scumbag man, she gave him a message: with a yellow complexion and thin skin, there is a tumor in the skull, he will not live long now, let's prepare for the funeral. After hearing this, the old woman was about to run away on the spot, but she was caught and dragged away by the patrol captain with quick eyesight and quick hands, thus avoiding a second riot. Before leaving, the tall and handsome patrol leader gave Bai Jianchun an admiring look. This wave of shrimp and pig heart was so powerful that it penetrated the old lady's 7 inches. Bai Jianchun glanced at him indifferently. Before she could say anything, the girl in the floral skirt had already approached her. The excitement of defeating the dragon had not passed on her face. Her cheeks were flushed and her eyes were shining. She sincerely thanked her. Thank you, little sister. If you hadn't restrained that man, I probably wouldn't have been able to hum that vicious old woman and the filthy male duo just now. Bai Jianchun's mouth twitched. You're welcome. I think you can defeat 2 such combinations with your output just now. The girl in the floral skirt's eyes were brighter, she rubbed her hands and said excitedly, really? Hee, I came up in one breath just now, so I performed exceptionally well, but I still have the little sister behind me to guide me, so I dare to be so bold. Without giving Bai Jianchun a chance to be modest, she directly put the big hat firmly on her head, and then she changed the topic enthusiastically and asked, Miss, what you just said is not alive. Is it true that she has grown? This sentence really hit the heart of the old woman. I think her face turned green. Bai Jianchun nodded with a serious expression. Of course, I never tell lies in my professional field. Hey, professional field, is this young lady also studying medicine? Also. The girl in the floral skirt said with a smile, I am also a medical student. My name is Cao Jia. I am a first-year pharmacy major in the Department of Medicine of the 1st Military Academy. This time I came here with my uncle to treat people. By the way, I also want to take advantage of Yao Guangxing's charity event to pick up some bargains and get some good things back. Is the young lady also here to participate in charity activities? Yeah, Bai Jianchun nodded without refuting. Cao Jiajia's eyes lit up and she said happily, then let's go together. Although you look shorter than me, little sister, I feel particularly safe around you. Bai Jianchun, haha, she is now on the average level of interstellar girls, not short at all. I also have some inside information. In addition to receiving some ordinary rewards such as a free flying car and furniture and home appliances after completing 10 stamps, the Li family has also launched an event to give away free space buttons. The number of space buttons is comparable to the number of second-hand speed cars is much smaller, and you have to do special tasks to get them. Baikin Chun's dark eyes were flashing with brilliance, and her heart was beating wildly. Space button, this price is much higher than the price of an ordinary speed car. A space button the size of a 15-cubic room is worth 50 million star coins. On this trip to the Shaking Light Star, she made a lot of money even if she only got one space button. So she immediately changed her mind, and regardless of what Miss Caogia said about her being short, she immediately nodded and said, "Okay, I'll go with you." "That's great." Miss Caogia clapped her hands excitedly. It was their turn in the queue, and she pulled Bai Chun onto a public express train. After the two of them sat down in the car, the screen in the flying car was also broadcasting about the charity event of Shaking Light Star. From old men and women who appeared to be in their 70s to 80 years old, to little kids in their 7s and 8s, all kinds of participants were designated. Figures of voluntary labor helpers at the location began to play on the screen in turn. The promotional video shot is particularly iconic, especially the row of free rewards. The shots are particularly good and the introduction is very detailed. However, there is no space button option, which seems to be indeed a special reward. So, Bai Chun turned her head and looked at Caogia, who was sitting next to her and was holding her hair and wondering where to go to do voluntary help first, and couldn't help but ask, "What voluntary help do I need to do to get the free space button?" "Hey, do you really want to do this special task now?" Caogia suddenly raised her head and looked at her in surprise. Baikin Chun's big black and white eyes looked at her directly. "Then what else? Isn't it said that the quantity is very small? Of course I should go early."